Let me say that we no longer just have smoke. We have a raging 10-alarm fire at the White House. As a former prosecutor, what the president did in firing James Comey and then saying he did it to relieve pressure on himself because of the FBI investigation is the classic case of obstruction of justice, a federal crime. Anybody else who did something like this would be facing a federal indictment and a criminal trial.
He said it there. Welcome back to the 11th hour. That was Congressman Ted Lieu, Democrat of California, earlier tonight on this network. We have two attorneys with us tonight, not by design, but I just noticed they're Georgetown law, both of them. Paul Butler, former federal prosecutor who focused on public corruption, and Carrie Cordero, former national security lawyer for the Justice Department. Again, if you're lucky enough to be a law school student at Georgetown, you get to hear from both of these people as a matter of course. Paul, I know you as a very orderly thinker. When you hear what the congressman just said, when you hear what the president said in the Oval Office, I know there's an order now to be followed, and Mr. Mueller is very orderly and hates leaks. So does this all have to fall into the line of march, a kind of orderly process?
Brian, it sure does. So, you know, this week's developments are bringing us closer to a criminal prosecution than we've ever been. We heard this stunning development that President Trump has threatened the FBI director. That sounds like obstruction of justice. It sounds like intentionally trying to impede an official investigation. You know, every day there's something something that's more incriminating. So again, I just don't know where we're going to go from this. We're getting closer to impeachment.
Carrie, White House staffers have just learned that a person in their midst, probably on that plane tonight, is a person of interest. How does that change the behavioral dynamic in what is a very, very small circle around this president, or really any president? And will that person, you think, be publicly identified shortly?
Well, again, I think I heard Jeremy say earlier on the program that person of interest really is not a phrase that is used in FBI investigations or Justice Department prosecutions. So usually that language would pertain to the subject of an investigation or target. So it's very unclear. I know this is recent reporting, but it's very unclear where that phrase person of interest is coming to and what that really means for the investigation. But on the obstruction point, there really is the obstruction angle is really a very interesting legal angle that's developed. And with the reporting that's come out just in the past 24 hours or so regarding things that the president may have said to Director Comey when he was still director regarding the investigation, regarding the fact of his actual firing. And I believe even if you go back to the president's tweets on March 4th, which then triggered a increased scrutiny towards the underlying investigations. What we are seeing over the past several months is that the actions that are taken through tweeting and other public statements by the president are having the effect of uncovering the underlying investigation. And so that presents a lot of challenges for the investigation going forward.
Paul, is there a mechanism for the orderly man, Mr. Mueller, prior to this long investigation coming to an end, prior to his final report, to pull something out if he feels it's urgent and say, wait a minute, this is a matter of national importance, even if he just shares it with congressional leaders or the Justice Department? Is there a mechanism for that?
You know, it's possible for him to do that, but frankly, Brian, that's not his style. I think he's going to keep things close to the vest until he's ready to either issue a report or bring charges. You know, I have to say, I take this subject of interest a little bit more seriously than my good Georgetown colleague. What this means is the FBI seriously suspects that someone who's working in the White House, presumably with the president every day, is a criminal. We know the investigation ranges from obstruction of justice to collusion with Russians. So we could be looking at charges from obstruction of justice to treason. So what Robert Mueller is doing now is putting together an ace team of some of the nation's best prosecutors. They're going to read every email, subpoena every document, and issue hundreds of subpoenas to witnesses. So again, I think we're moving closer and closer to a prosecution.
Carrie, there have been reports from intimates the president's been asking around about a personal lawyer. Should he have a lawyer?
Well, from everything I've read publicly, he employs many lawyers. I mean, he has the role of the White House counsel, which really...
How about a wartime consigliere?
Well, he's got the White House counsel that should be looking at his role institutionally, and from what we've seen publicly, he certainly doesn't shy away from hiring personal attorneys. So I would expect him to be consulting with legal counsel, which seems consistent with what he's done throughout his career. But on the point of special counsel, it is important to note that the special counsel's role is going to be different than what people might be looking for in terms of a comprehensive, high-level report on Russian influence in the elections overall. And so there really is a different role that the special counsel is going to fill, which is going to be a very serious investigation and looking for potential prosecution, versus the potential role that these congressional investigations really should be filling, which should be looking at the bigger picture, the effect of Russian influence, the effect on democratic processes.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.